But as we mentioned earlier, President Biden's student loan relief plan, that's in the headlines today. The Supreme Court now weighing the controversial proposal, and the conservative-leaning court seemed inclined to reject the plan, citing the lack of congressional approval and also the cost. The nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office estimating the plan, if it goes through, it's going to cost more than $400 billion over 30 years. The freeze already costing about $20 billion.
Yeah, Brandon Arnold is the executive vice president of the National Taxpayers Union. Krisha Linzo is a business analyst. They both join us live. Good to see both of you. We appreciate that. So, ladies first. Krisha, talk to me about this. How big would be the ramifications of the decision from the Supreme Court either way, given that CBO report?
Well, it's a catch-22 here. The Supreme Court is in a tight spot because even optically, it's going to look as if they are penalizing the next generation. And Biden's plan in general, though, for student loan forgiveness is both economically and morally derelict. So the Supreme Court weighing in on this in any way is just going to appear to be partisan. But from an economic standpoint, it's going to lead to inflation, and it's going to take even more people out of the workforce, which is a huge problem, as we know already. But with inflation, we know is going to occur because people, which seems free at that point in time, we're ultimately going to pay for. So the Supreme Court is acknowledging that. Justice Roberts did acknowledge the ramifications of how this is going to hurt the overall economy down the line.
Krisha, you brought up an interesting point about how the public views the Supreme Court. I just checked. A Gallup poll that was out in the fall found only 4 in 10 Americans actually approved SCOTUS. This followed, of course, that big decision to overturn Roe v. Wade. And now as we look ahead, Brandon, to this student loan forgiveness case, what do you think the justices come to the conclusion with today?
Well, I think what the justices ultimately decide is that this overreach was absolutely unconstitutional. Yes, Congress did give the administrative branch more power during the COVID pandemic, but they did not give the president the ability to spend what could amount to $1 trillion to forgive student loans and restructure student loans. It's a fundamentally unfair policy, and as Krisha said, it could contribute to inflation. But at its core, the Supreme Court has to evaluate this on a constitutional basis. They have to do their best to insulate themselves from public opinion, and they have to recognize that the executive branch does not have the ability to spend this much money and to enact these kinds of policies without the direct approval of Congress, which is what took place here, unfortunately.
And I have some disappointed applicants. Millions, in fact, that tried to get a hold of that student loan relief plan. But again, still months out from a decision. We'll have it for you. That is Brandon Arnold, Krisha Linzo. Thank you both for your time. We appreciate that. Meanwhile, parents